And we're back with more Spacelines from the Far Out. This is a follow-up to the Future of the Spacelines video, which I put out maybe a week or 10 days ago. And it had 5 ideas that could potentially add replayability and functionality to the game. Thank you to Coffeenauts for actually replying to that video. Much appreciated. So without further ado, number 1 of the part 2 comes to us from Electric Toast. Leave it to someone with the ID Electric Toast to come up with the brilliant idea of a food buffet. So let me just go into the shop real fast, pick any old ship and go into systems. And yes, so we have, like a catering station, a cooking station, and Electric Toast's idea was a food buffet that could also be powered, and you would pre-cook food, put it on the buffet, and then passengers could serve themselves as they became hungry. The food would still spoil faster if there was no power, if it broke down, or if there was power and it wasn't broken down, then the food would stay fresher longer. And I just thought that is beyond brilliant idea, and it would really be fascinating to implement that with some of the hard mode ideas that I've come up with both in the first video and that I'll be presenting shortly. So thank you again to Toast for that fantastic idea. That led me to thinking, well, if the food requirement could be kind of offset a little by a buffet, what about the entertainment? We already have a theater system that you can purchase that goes well with the seating. So I had the idea, what about a jukebox? So it could be implemented in 2 ways. First off, it would have power and it would have a limited range. So wherever the jukebox was in the spaceship, the passengers who had an entertainment need would have to be within range of it to have their entertainment needs met. However, that led me to the idea, well, what if there were speakers that could also require power, and maybe 1 power for all the speakers, and that way the jukebox could be pumped throughout the entire spaceship. Obviously, this would potentially make the game somewhat easier, but it was just another idea of something that could go into a hard mode potentially, or even into the normal mode. But it would work well, I think, also with my idea from the first video where you could design your own layout of the spaceship and be able to put the jukebox and the buffet in strategic places that you wanted. So with both of those adding functionality but requiring power, it leads me to my third idea, which was, well, I guess my second idea, Toast had the first one, but the third idea, which is even without these kind of ideas requiring more power, we're kind of limited on power supply. And I was thinking, maybe we could either have an even larger power supply than what's currently in the game, or maybe double up on power supplies. We'd still need to repair 2 power supplies, if or 1 or 2 if they were dying or broken down. But yeah, that I just think that at some point, there is such a limited supply of power, even with the top line one, that we're going to have another power supply added if any more functionality that requires power is added specifically. So the fourth idea was to revisit hard mode. And my original thought was you reach Gambulon 5 and the game's over. And so maybe there could be a way you could continue the game with changing the difficulty. And the ideas I've come up with since then were, well, what if we kept Gambulon 5 as normal mode and then added maybe 2 more destination planets, and that could represent harder modes. So, like a Planet X and that would be hard mode. And planet Z would be insane mode. And you could have not just more obstacles, there could also be bigger obstacles. But so more asteroids, asteroid belts could be twice as wide. High-speed comets could actually come in pairs or something. The black holes and wormholes that I talked about in the last video would also potentially be in these kind of modes. In addition to fat asteroids, you could have, fat asteroids, you could have massive asteroids, which could really make you go out of your way to circumnavigate them. And and then longer distances. I think whenever you start your journeys, you're typically starting around 500 to 600 astronomical units, or AU. And I was thinking, well, in a hard mode or insane mode, maybe the starting would be 1,000 astronomical units. And when you reach your final destination, planet X or planet Z, you'd be traveling maybe 2,500 astronomical units. So it would just keep you going longer. This led me to another idea for hard mode, which would be intermediary stops and flight plans. So if you were going to travel on an airlines and you were going to have multiple stops, they're going to have flight plans the whole way through. They're going to know where their fueling stops are, where their pickup stations are, platforms. They're going to know where there's opportunities for restroom breaks. So I was thinking, what if you had the option to create a flight plan? And you wouldn't have to stick to it necessarily, but you could just like pinpoint different stops along the way, and it would be kind of a pre-lined path where you could follow that line and deviate if you chose, or just stick to it, or you could just forego the whole thing and not even sign up for a flight plan. But at the start of each flight, in between substations, you could create a flight plan that could map out your route. And then that got me thinking about intermediary stops. Not everyone is just going to want to go from one substation to another per se. Maybe where you would pick up one passenger, another passenger would want to be dropped off. And it would give you an opportunity to say, it would make those kind of platforms more interesting without like just increasing the passengers until you reach your cap of 12, and rather than increasing the cap or how many passengers you can have on at one time, you can have some disembark while some embark. And I think that makes sense. If not, maybe whenever I make the pinned comments below, maybe I can flesh it out a little bit better. But, just speaking off the top of my head, that's about as best I can come up with. And so the fifth one is going to be the most insane idea that could probably only be come from the mind of a solo player. And that was, what if you had co-op passengers? And I can see where this could be such a game crashing headache for players. But what if like, you had 3 people, or 4 people playing co-op, and maybe 3 were employees and 1 was a passenger? Or what if you had 2 employees and 2 passengers? And the passengers would have limitations. Like they couldn't immediately run over, grab a wrench, or, monkey with the gravitational system. Their needs would have to be in the red zone, much as any other passenger, before they could be so frustrated that they would be able to sabotage systems or take the wrench. But if the bathroom was broke, they would be able to lay waste in the cabin area. if the food was spoiled, they could go over by it and they could get sick. And then they could be puking all over the ship until they were healed. But that would assume that the bathroom was broke or no bathroom, and that the healing station was broke, or that there was no healing station. Obviously, passengers would be required to use the stations that could meet their needs. So if there was open seating, they would have to seat. If there was a theater system on, that would take care of their entertainment needs. If there was a buffet and they were hungry, they would be forced to eat at the buffet. Beyond that, I was thinking, especially when it came to design your own ship, maybe you could make like an employee-only station or employee-only zone where the navigation and helm was. Because I think otherwise it could just get too frustrating where they would always just go over and start steering the ship off course. But I don't even know if that's true. I don't know. I think multiplayers, co-op players, and Coffeenauts would probably be best off determining viability of co-op passengers. But the idea to me is just fascinating. And it seems like, again, I'm trying to come up with ideas that already have some level of implementation in the game. So this would not be hard for Coffeenauts to recalibrate or reconfigure the code that's already developed. And for Coffeenauts specifically, if you actually read or listen to this, I think this is the best idea I've been able to come up with so far is number 6, which is the bonus idea. And maybe you've already thought of this as well. But if you want people to play your game longer, especially solo players, the single best way you're going to be able to get more engagement in this game, in my opinion, is to convince Xbox you've put enough new content in to add more achievements, and put in some achievements that are going to take more time, because with the achievement hunters and especially with the completionist, they will sink time into games just to get that final achievement or to get that 100 gamer score. So even if you can only convince Xbox to add 250 achievement points, or gamer score points, I should say, and maybe 5 achievements or 10 achievements. Regardless, if you can convince Xbox you can do that, that is going to be a way, because I've already achieved all of the gamer score I can out of the game. And I know if you added more gamer score points, I would probably come back, and it would incentivize me to return to the gameplay, regardless if there was even more functionality. So, but convincing Xbox to allow you to add more gamer score without functionality, I don't think is feasible. So hopefully that made sense. Again, I think many of the things I'm just talking about here would probably make more sense in the comments. So it'll be a too long didn't watch video anyway. Not that anyone watches all my videos all the way through. God knows I don't. So appreciate everyone, appreciate all the new subscribers, really appreciate the 1 or 2 people who subscribed and unsubscribed. You're geniuses. I love you. Oh, and number 1 and number 2, everyone else still blames you for ever subscribing to this channel and keeping me around. So I hope you all are doing well down under. Thank you again to Coffeenauts for a fantastic game. Thank you to all the people who have commented on any of the videos, and we'll be right back.